Welcome to Eureka, a program on science where we are going to introduce to you the top-notch scientists of the country. In India, we have always respected science and scientists. We have held them in high esteem. It's the only program that will bring you face-to-face with top-notch scientists of the country. We'll talk about their contribution to science, but before that, let me introduce Professor Indira Nath ji, who has been a top-notch scientist of the country and is respected not only among people as a great doctor, as a great personality who has been working throughout and serving the country by contributing to science, but is also respected across the world for her contribution. Welcome, Indira Nath ji.
Thank you.
Let me begin by asking a question which probably everybody must have asked you. Why did you do science? You could have done anything. A great mind can contribute in many areas, and you can direct your creativity, potential in any area. Why did you choose science?
Right. I have thought about it, and I recall when I was about 10 or so, wanting to do medicine. I was very clear I wanted to do medicine. So my father said, well...
At that time, medicine was the in thing, right, especially for women.
Women, right. Yes, I don't know if I was conscious of that, but I know that I wanted to do medicine. And I was in a school which didn't have physics and chemistry. But my father said, well, finish your senior Cambridge, then we'll think about it. When I came into medicine, I realized, pretty early on that even if I lived to be 100 and saw patients, how many people would I make a difference to? Whereas I felt if I did research, and research was what I thought of, I didn't really think about it as science or medicine, but research, that perhaps I could make a bigger impact.
What inspired you to take up such a difficult thing, the problems that you have chosen for research? I was fascinated by leprosy, right, at a fairly young age, I think. I remember while doing medicine as an undergraduate, we had a tutor in pharmacology of all subjects, which I didn't like that subject very much, but he asked me to come and see some leprosy patients. That was his hobby. At weekends he used to go. In those days, you know, the leprosy patients were all along the river near Jamuna, somewhere near Shadra, and it was like a colony. They were outcasts.
Yes, they were outcasts. So he was part of a social group. In fact, that social group, I remember this lady, she used to come and pick me up in a red Mercedes. She was the wife of the Reserve Bank of India governor. And she'd pick me up from my home and we'd go to the colony, and really we did simple things like bandaging their ulcers, trying to get them magazines. There were a lot of South Indian people from my community who were there. They left their villages and came because of the stigma. And so, you know, the disease first hit me in that manner because you get taught very little about leprosy actually in the medical course, because it's part of dermatology. Dermatology is a fraction of the regular medicine, and so you can imagine leprosy sort of gets one paragraph in the textbook as far as we were concerned. So that was one aspect that hit me as a disease first. And later, when I was doing MD, some exciting things happened. And you know, when you're doing MD, you're sort of...
You didn't feel scared of leprosy at that time? No. Because there is a lot of stigma, myths, superstitions that were associated across the world. Yeah. It was not something peculiar to India.
Yes.
But across the world, there is this film, Papillon, which is on leprosy mainly. Yeah, people were scared of even going close to any leper and touch them. And you as a young person coming out, were you not scared?
No, I was not scared, I think. No, that part didn't affect me. In fact, the social aspect affected me. That was very interesting, you know, their personality changes, these people, because they're stigmatized, I guess. I mean, later when I was older, I realized it.
Which is true for AIDS patient today, probably.
Absolutely, absolutely. Same thing is happening. So that part of it was what struck me more as a social problem, and the medical problem of the ulcers not healing, that struck me. But what you say is right, because my mother used to be very worried, because this was at the weekend I would do this. I'd go home and she'd want me to have the bath first before I entered the house, almost entered the house, so to speak. So, yeah. Stigma didn't bother me, yeah.
We'll come back and have discussion continued. Don't go anywhere. We are coming back after this short break. Friends, welcome back to Eureka. We are discussing with Professor Indira Nath about her career, about her passion for doing something unique for the society and contribute to science. Professor Nath, when you started probing this difficult area which was riddled with myths and superstitions for your scientific investigation, don't you feel that people should be naturally scared of those diseases which are infectious, highly infectious, and should be naturally be keeping away from the patients? And
well, you know, leprosy is not that infectious at all. In fact, cold, flu, these are much more infectious than leprosy. The leprosy bug takes a long time to grow, and it doesn't enter very quickly. And even the what we call the incubation period, right, that is before, after infection and before the disease appears, takes years. So really, unless you've had a cut on your hand and then it happens to touch the ulcer of a patient with bugs, you don't get leprosy. What is frightening the people is because of the nerve damage that occurs and the deformities, you know, that you see these patients with. That's what frightens patients. And
probably more people are killed because of diseases like flu, and especially when it spreads in Western countries.
Absolutely. TB, leprosy. Nobody dies of leprosy per se. Leprosy doesn't kill. It's a clever bug. It just wants to survive, you know, peacefully in the body. While it's surviving there, the immune system is trying to kill it, and it's the immune system that's causing the damage and the deformities, really. And the bug is wanting to survive peacefully. So we should look at it kindly. And these leprosy patients are not infectious.
There is no reason for these myths and superstitions that are associated.
It's the deformities that
are very inhuman for the society to make them outcast, any patient.
Absolutely. And now with better treatment and the disease is not progressing fast, you don't even know who's had leprosy and got cured, you know. So society is accepting them, so that's not a problem. So it's biblical and it should remain that way. And you will find in leprosy the fascinating thing, apart from the stigma and the other thing if we put aside, there are 2-3 things that are very interesting about the disease. One, the bug doesn't grow conventionally in the test tube. The TB bug grows and so does typhoid. But we cannot grow leprosy bacillus in a test tube. So that's number one. We don't know, but that's number one. So, you know, you can't really investigate the pathogen, as we call it.
In the laboratory, it's very difficult.
That's one. Secondly, when a patient gets exposed, you and I, we are exposed to leprosy. After all, we are walking on the street, we're coming. But we don't get it. So there's one group that doesn't get it. There's another group that gets it. Now, of the people who get it, the interesting thing is, one will just get a little white patch on the skin and may become all right, and he doesn't even know why he got it and why it's gone. The second lot get the patch, which lasts a little longer, and also this bug has this peculiarity of infecting your nerves. That's why they get, you know, the sensation goes. So there's a little patch which doesn't have sensation. Yet they will get cured very easily. Then you have another group at the other end which gets generalized. These are the ones that we see at the temple sites and elsewhere. And these people then have this thickened eyebrows, thickened ear. They are full of bugs. You know, if you just make a slight slit in the skin, the bugs pour out, and they are infective. So the interesting question is that the same bug is infecting all of us.
This is a scientific question that you asked and posed.
This is the interesting question. And we think it's dependent on the way our immune system is. So if my immune system is very poor, like we get for HIV, for instance, it's not HIV that kills. It's when the immune system goes down and then you get other infections like TB that the patient dies. In leprosy, fortunately, the bug is pretty mild, you know, it doesn't really kill you, which is cleverer, because if it kills the host that it needs, then it's a stupid bug, right? So this is a clever bug that's surviving within us and responding to your immune system. So that is what, that's why I think it's a model for studying immunology and immune system and why certain diseases like this are caused. The other thing about this disease is that it infects nerves. There are very few bacteria that infect nerves. Leprosy is one of them, and that's why you get patients with these, you know, deformities, and that's because the nerves are affected. And that continues to be our major challenge. We've got very good drugs now for leprosy, so it's no longer infectious and you can cure them. But the nerve damage doesn't come back. And that is our current worry. How do we get the nerves back into normal?
We'll surely talk about that. We'll take a small break. Don't go anywhere. We'll come back. Welcome back to Eureka. We are today talking about science and scientific contribution made by Professor Indira Nath. Yes, your primary concern was at some point of time leprosy, but you have made contribution to other areas of science. Would you like to talk about them?
Yes, currently I'm involved in the international arena on two issues. One is, you know, science is growing very rapidly and hugely, and big groups are involved, international groups and teams are getting together. But along with the growth of science, what we are seeing also is misconduct in science. So the academies of the world have been very worried about it, and now we have a Global Research Council that's worried about it. So I was co-chair for one of these for the global academies, where we were actually discussing how we could provide guidelines for young scientists and for fresh scientists, and how we could control this, because we feel strongly that unless science is conducted in a proper manner, the faith of people in science would go. Also, it's a lot of waste of money. If I do bad science and somebody has to reproduce it, and you know, it's a duplication of work, and it causes a lot of science. The other aspect I'm involved in as chair is we are worried about urbanization and health and well-being. It's not just diseases. This time we are talking about health and well-being. And you know, India and Asia is one of the fastest urbanizing areas of the world. Africa is another one. And we are not urbanizing in a very planned manner. It's just at the moment growing intuitively. You know, in Delhi we've just absorbed I don't know how many villages, and our peri-urban area is expanding. We've swallowed up farmlands and various other issues. So here we are using a multidisciplinary approach, which we call systems approach, which we are trying to propagate. This is under the International Council for Science, which is based in Paris. And we feel that you cannot address this You know, our politicians, particularly in our country, worry about rural areas and how we should promote. But really, it's seamless now. Urban and rural is just
the boundaries are blurred completely.
And it's already been predicted that 80% of India is going to be urbanized in another decade or two. So we need to address this. And I don't see, we have urban planning separately, we have other issues, social issues separately, but we don't have a systemic approach of looking at this problem. Right. And this is what we are trying to investigate now at a global level. And I hope India becomes also a part of this global effort.
So, two major concerns you are working at. One is that if you do bad science, then science loses its credibility among the people. The other thing which has been a strength of science, that it's inward-looking endeavor of humanity, which keeps on challenging its own conclusions, and therefore any bad science done hampers this particular characteristics of science as compared to any other way of looking at the cosmos or worldview. The other is directly related to human beings as they are today and the future of the globe. I would like to ask you a very simple question which probably is there in everybody's mind, that is science going to be the only way of solving problems of humanity? Is it that other forms of looking at the universe or looking at the cosmos and worldviews are going to fade away over a period of time?
Oh no, I don't think so. I think science brings in a way of looking at things, and it becomes a philosophy in its own way. And it can, the power of science is perhaps being able to objectively and rationally provide proof, ask a question and provide proof. But
without invoking.
Stand alone, it will be sterile unless we involve of course, social sciences. We've now given social aspects also a name of sciences, hoping you can investigate in a rational manner. But other things like philosophy and all those, you know, physics at the highest level is almost philosophy, right? Absolutely. So I think these things are going to merge, definitely.
And the disciplines of science also are going to have blurred boundaries.
What I'm not clear is whether the boundaries will be blurred or whether there is a definite need for multidisciplinary approach to solving a problem.
Whether it's scientific problem or it's a social problem, that is what you are arguing.
Multiple disciplines have to come in, and whether that will I don't know, I don't like the word blurred, I think. While they're merging, maybe something else will come out. But certainly we need that.
Which means new areas of science and new areas
where you have two things. I mean, biology and engineering is already coming together, which we never thought. I mean, you know, what you asked, you began the question with why medicine and why not engineering. See, these two are now merging and we are getting so many information. Same thing is happening in chemistry. Biology is coming into chemistry, so chemistry alone doesn't give you the solutions that. So when you are asking a major question, I think you need multiple disciplines, including, I would say, your own philosophical attitude. Yeah.
If I look at your contribution and the way you have been honored for your contribution, if I start reading them, the list, then
boring.
The entire program will be devoted to that only.
It's boring.
How do you, when you look back, how do you feel whether your contribution has been recognized by your peer groups and people at large? Does it give you satisfaction, and does it lead you to a situation where you will say, I have done enough?
Oh no, I don't think I've done enough at all. I still haven't answered the question about the leprosy bacillus, you know, or the immune system. We are still going stepwise, and this is 30 years, number one. Number two, I think, you know, awards, you just, if you live long enough, you just, I think, you know.
No, everybody doesn't. Everybody doesn't.
Well, you know, I've lived long enough, yes, I guess I was fortunate enough. Maybe it is because I selected a topic that was unique to our country and honor, and used state-of-art technologies in immunology to answer it. Maybe that was one of the impacts that came about.
May I ask a difficult question? Yeah. Which award do you value the most?
Well, I must say, for that, I'm very clear about that. The only award that I sought, or I would say that I would have wanted to get, was the Bhatnagar Award.
Oh, great.
That was the one that really I would have, I guess, worked towards it. The others, I was nominated.
The Indian Nobel Prize.
Well, whatever. But, you know, it made a tremendous difference to my life because, you know, I would have been cocooned just in a medical, even though All India Institute of Medical Sciences was much broader than other medical schools, but still I would have been cocooned in a medical environment. But getting Bhatnagar somehow made me come across other sciences and other scientists, and that's been enormously helpful in the way I looked at my problem. So that was tremendous. Then
being a part of CSIR, I sincerely feel very proud that you have placed Bhatnagar Award at the highest. And I'm sure it's going to inspire.
I've also worked for CSIR. I've been on a lot of your committees and I've been excited by that. The other one perhaps came later in life, which is the UNESCO L'Oreal Award for Asia Pacific. That brought me into the global scene in a different way because then other countries started inviting me to address them on women's issues, not necessarily on science. But that seemed to have...
Did you ever feel that being a woman had been an impediment in your way to pursue the science that you pursued?
No, I didn't actually at all. Maybe it's because I did medicine, and medicine we don't really have as much barriers. The basic scientists still have those barriers. We don't really have it, And maybe I didn't hit the glass ceiling 1 or 2 times, but that may be just, maybe I was not competent to get that job. I never felt, I didn't do science as a woman or as a man. I mean, you know, one did science because of the question you asked. I didn't personally feel it. But that doesn't mean I haven't seen others suffering, and I have also seen even internationally. And certainly our younger girls sometimes face problems when they get married and have to give up their career. Because usually they marry men who are older than them, who have an established career. And so these people have to fit in then along with the husband. So.
That brings me to the last question of this session, though I would like to continue it for a much more longer period of time. What would you like to say to the younger generation of the country?
I think the younger generation is very fortunate actually that there's a lot more money now in the country. There's a lot more liberalism in the public funding. And a lot of emphasis is being given to younger generation to get fellowships, to travel, which we did not have. And the explosion of the internet has made acquiring, accessing knowledge so much easier. We used to wait for 3 months before the journal came to the library, and so you were already behind. So all those advantages are there. But on the other hand, what I see, and now I'm talking like an old lady, is that they are so, they're very ambitious, very energetic, very aspirational, but with impatience, and there are certain science topics you cannot do with impatience. It does take time of incremental increase in knowledge. And it seems to me that some of them want fame, name, riches all together at the same time. So that kind of thing, maybe that's what older people say, but maybe we were like that too when we were younger. That needs to be modulated a bit. But I would say grab the opportunity. It's so fortunate. Yeah.
Would you say that this is the career which should be taken up by the brightest of the mind? Would you recommend that?
I would say so. Research, I think, is fascinating.
It'll take time?
It takes time, but you know,
you can make a great contribution.
It gives you a high when you get your paper into some of the best journals. And the fact that you can ask a question, enjoy answering it at public money, you know, I think that's a great privilege we have, and it's very exciting.
Thank you very much for being with us. It has been a very inspiring session, even for me. I'm sure with the younger generation, you will remain inspiring personality for a very long period of time. We'll be with you in Eureka next time with a new scientist, with a face who will inspire you the way Indira ji has inspired just now.